On Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss the economics of e-NAIRA.
In February this year, the Central Bank of Nigeria prohibited banks and other financial institutions from dealing in cryptocurrencies, which are digital payment systems based on blockchain technology.
Expectedly, there was a public backlash against the CBN's position on cryptocurrency, especially from dealers in Nigeria's growing cryptocurrency market. Now, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo gave his own position at that time by calling for thoughtful and knowledge-based regulation of digital currencies by Nigeria's monetary authorities rather than outright prohibition.
And by the way, Nigeria is reputed to have the second largest Bitcoin market in the world, with over $500 million worth of Bitcoin traded over the last 5 years. And it appears the CBN went back to the drawing board, and only a week ago, the Apex Bank announced plans to launch its own digital currency on the 1st of October this year, to be known as the e-NAIRA.
Now, CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele said the e-NAIRA would operate as a wallet against which customers can hold existing funds in their bank accounts, even as he gave assurance that the currency would accelerate financial inclusion and enable cheaper and faster remittance inflows.
The CBN has also argued that its transactions on the e-NAIRA will be at lower cost and ensure greater time efficiency for all users. It says the e-NAIRA would complement rather than replace the paper currency, and that the CBN will be the authorized issuer of the e-NAIRA, as well as the sole distributor of the government-backed digital currency.
Of course, Nadabo, so many benefits have been listed about the forthcoming e-NAIRA, and these benefits include the prospect or potentiality of reducing demand for foreign currencies, as Nigerians could use the central bank's digital currency, the e-NAIRA, to make transactions both locally and across borders in the future. But posers have been raised by financial experts about the timing of the introduction of the e-NAIRA by the CBN, which is considered rather hasty.
And there are also concerns as to whether the e-NAIRA would not go the way of its paper counterpart in terms of value, as the Naira is currently experiencing free fall in the money market. Nigerians also want to know what is the difference between the e-NAIRA as a digital currency and existing cryptocurrencies.
Of course, many Nigerians already see the planned introduction of the e-NAIRA as a litmus test for the central bank. And Nigerians are also asking if the Apex Bank has the capacity to manage a possible fallout that the innovation would have on the banking industry and the financial market.
These are issues we shall raise with our panel of guests as we discuss the economics of e-NAIRA on Good Morning Nigeria today. My name is Yusuf Nadabo Usman.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I join my colleague Nadabo to also welcome you to the program, reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA. And we are broadcasting from Abuja, the nation's capital city. In the course of the program, we have our regular companion segments, and these include newspaper review, business, and others. For now, here is Noline Belame with the highlights of the morning news. Good morning, Noline.
Good morning, Kingsley and Nadabo. Good morning, Nigeria. Here is the news. The Nigerian government is saddened by the apparent coup d'etat that has taken place in the Republic of Guinea in clear violation of the ECOWAS Protocol on Democracy and Good Governance. The government of Nigeria strongly condemns and rejects any unconstitutional change of government and therefore calls on those behind the coup to restore constitutional order without delay and protect all lives and property. Similarly, soldiers who staged an uprising in Guinea's capital have, in a short broadcast on state television, dissolved the constitution and the government in the West African state. The videos shared on social media on Sunday showed President Alpha Conde being surrounded by soldiers. The video also showed citizens on streets jubilating following news of the arrest of President Conde. A military source said the gunfire, which rocked Conakry early Sunday, involved angry members of the Special Forces and Elite Army Corps. And back home, a jinx was broken recently when the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, announced a first net profit for the first time in the 44 years history of the organization under President Muhammadu Buhari, who doubles as the Minister of Petroleum Resources. The presidency says this feat by the Buhari administration has ripple effect across sectors. Special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Femi Adesina, in a statement says the profit of 287 billion announced by the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, was possible because President Buhari insisted on transparency by publishing the audited accounts of the NNPC and never demanded anything for himself. And talking judiciary now, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Ibrahim Tanko Muhammad, has demanded for the records of proceedings in all the suits from which conflicting ex parte orders emanated. To this effect, the Chief Judges of Rivers, Kebbi, Cross River, Anambra, Jigawa, and Imo states are to be quizzed on the controversial conflicting orders delivered in their various states on Monday, 6th September 2021. In a telephone interview with NTA News, the Director of Information to the National Judicial Council, Sojoy, confirmed that there are indications that the Chief Judge, Delta State High Court, has also been invited to join the other 6 Chief Judges to meet with the Chief Justice of Nigeria today. The move is to entrench a new culture of accountability in the judicial system. Justice Ibrahim Tanko Muhammad is also likely to meet with the leadership of the Nigerian Bar Association in the course of the week over the matter. The Northern Governors' Wives Forum says it is strengthening collaboration with the federal government and other development platforms to bring down the rate of out-of-school children and drug abuse in the northern part of the country. Chairperson of the forum and wife of the Kaduna State Governor, Hadiza El-Rufai, met this noon during an interaction with newsmen in Abuja.
We have children out of school that are of various ages. So we need to find something for them to do. You know, at least give them basic numeracy and literacy and then some kind of training that they can use to make a living.
And talking health now, 459 new cases of COVID-19 and 30 deaths have been recorded in the country within the last 24 hours. This brings Nigeria's COVID-19 caseload to 195,511. Statistics from the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and CDC indicates that Lagos has 185 of the new cases. Abia and Oyo recorded 38, Akwa Ibom and Cross River 33, Osun 24, Ekiti 23, Benue 15, Kwara 14, and Kano 12 new cases each. Delta and the FCT recorded 10 new cases each, Edo 9, Kaduna 5, Ogun 3, Katsina, Nasarawa and Rivers states recorded 2 cases each, while Bayelsa has just a case this time around. 184,529 treated cases have been discharged, while the death toll is now 2,552. That's the news for now. The program continues with Nadabo and Kinsley after this break. I am Nolin Ebel Ame. Good morning.
Trying our best to contain the situation. In our operations, we've been able to make a lot of recoveries. We've been able to also arrest suspects that are involved in this kind of activities. And we've been able to also recover, particularly arms and ammunition from those who are carrying it are lawfully and disturbing the peace of the people. But generally, our morale in the Nigerian police is always guided by our commitment to do what we have sworn to do. Peace and security must be looked into as a priority by all, to look at security as the business of all of us.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
I have got my car for full body work.
Madam, look, we will shine this car.
Wait. This cough doesn't sound good at all. What are you doing about it?
Oga doesn't want to go to the hospital so that they won't say he has COVID-19.
No, now. Cough is a sign of different infections, including tuberculosis. You would only know which cough it is if you go for testing.
Kai, I've been coughing for more than 2 weeks now.
There's no need to fear. I have done this test myself. To know the right treatment for the particular cough you have, you must first get tested.
Oga Chekamo, make you dey sure. Because
who no go?
No go, no.
Check that cough for tuberculosis.
If your cough is more than 2 weeks, it could be tuberculosis. TB tests and TB treatment are free. Just call the National TB Hotline on 3340 for information on where to get the test. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Health with support from the American people.
The Nigerian Communications Commission is set to launch 3 major strategic projects. First is the Strategic Vision Implementation Plan, SVP 2021 to 2025. Also to be launched is the Compendium of Executive Vice Chairman EVC's speeches and presentations, titled Catalyzing Nigeria's Socioeconomic Transformation Through Broadband Infrastructure. The NCC will also launch a sportscast, NCC Global Connect. The 3 strategic projects are in line with the priorities of President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. Special guest of honor, Professor Isa Ali Ibrahim Pantami, FNCS, FBCS, FIIM, the Honorable Minister of Communications and Digital Economy. Date, 7th September 2021. Venue is the Communications and Digital Economy Complex, Mbora, Abuja. Time is 11 a.m. prompt. Professor Umar Garba Dambata, Executive Vice Chairman, NCC. Announcer, NCC. Connecting Nigeria.
Firstly, safety. I will ensure that my family members and loved ones are safe.
I will try as much as possible not to get involved.
You should call the nearest police station.
I will alert my family, my friends, my neighbors in that vicinity that this is what is happening.
Who wins the star prize of 1 million naira in the ongoing Peace Nigeria Challenge, powered by Ask Nigeria, in partnership with National Council for Arts and Culture, NCAC, Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, and Star Times. Unity Challenge Nigeria, stronger together.
The federal government has commenced second phase of COVID-19 vaccination. If you are 18 years and above and unvaccinated, register at www.nphcda.vaccination.gov.ng. Visit the nearest vaccination site to receive COVID-19 vaccine. If you received first dose of AstraZeneca vaccine before 8th July 2021, second dose commences 23rd August and closes 5th September 2021. All vaccines are free and certified safe by WHO and NAFDAC. At the vaccination site, you can check blood pressure and know your diabetes risk status. Children aged 0 to 23 months will receive childhood vaccines and screen for malnutrition. After vaccination, continue to adhere to COVID-19 prevention protocols. For more information, visit www.nphcda.gov.ng or call 0700-220-1122. This message is from the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Business news is next with Comfort Amodu.
Interest in export business at the intra-African and international markets is increasing alongside other economic activities. African governments are therefore evolving ways to ensure that African countries take advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Area to improve export of goods and services on the continent as a way of bridging the continent's infrastructure financing gap, which the African Development Bank estimates about $170 billion per annum, while the Program for Infrastructure Development in Africa is spec'd at $360 billion. The strategies include private sector partnership with the African Union to stimulate at least $100 trillion of the AFCFTA investment by 2030.
I can personally attest to the importance of reforming public enterprises in Africa. This is especially more so as we drive towards greater public-private partnership models to help us bridge the gap in financing the continent's development.
So we have put in place a number of measures to enhance our domestic revenue mobilization. We're cutting costs, we're improving the ease of doing business, trying to leverage on private sector resource capacity to invest in infrastructure to reduce government spending.
Meanwhile, on September 9th, the African Development Bank Green Growth Knowledge Platform and other partners will launch a new initiative to integrate natural capital into development finance in Africa. The initiative, known as Natural Capital for African Development Finance Program, NC4ADF, is projected to run from 2020 to 2022. Representatives of participating countries like Nigeria, Tanzania, Madagascar, and Mozambique will discuss how to establish a common vision that embraces natural capital, predominantly in the development projects and programs of multilateral development institutions via webinar. With Business News, Comfort Amadou.
Many thanks, Comfort Amodu, for the business package. Coming up next is Newspaper Review.
Well, Bayo Tebe, welcome this morning.
Thank you, Yusuf.
And of course, this Monday.
Yes, it's a cool, drizzly morning. Good morning, Yusuf. Good morning, Kinsley. Good morning, Nigeria.
Well, it was chilly. The weather was chilly on the weekend.
Yeah.
And even also this morning.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
That's right.
So let's get started with the Punch newspaper this morning and then see what is right there on the front page. Right above the masthead, we have some few stories, and one of which is oil power companies' bank debts rise to 6.14 trillion naira. The details of that on page 26 of the Punch newspaper. The other story here is on page 36, rather 38. Healthcare fund, federal government blames states for non-implementation, NMA berates government. On page 40, presidency, PDP differ as regime lists Buhari's achievements. There are two windows there, right beside or rather under the nameplate, and the windows have two stories. VAT controversy, air virus may lose 2.4 trillion naira revenue to states. Details on page 25. And still on that same page, 25, trade zone attracts $16.6 billion foreign investment in 20 years. Trade zone attracts $16.6 billion foreign investments in 20 years. The main story on the Punch newspaper is about the strike. It says looming hospitals shut down. Strike threat ridiculous, says FG, federal government, that is, NAIRA, National Association of Resident Doctors, and then union flay minister. Details of that on page 2. But the writers on that story are Nyege accuses health workers of intimidation. Federal government worried. The third one is Johesu accuses government of insensitivity. And then we have Minister misleading Buhari, says the union. These are all writers on the, the big story on the Punch newspaper. The photo story is about the coup in Guinea. And then there you can see the president, being surrounded in the center by the soldiers. And of course, on both sides of the picture, left and right, you can see how he's been held here. And under it, we have Nigeria rejects Guinea coup and soldiers plan transitional government. The details of all this will be gotten on page 8. On page 41, police begin manhunt for Showore brothers killers. PDP, Afenifere, knocks government. Page 41. On page 8, armed men kidnap Abuja pastor's wife, daughters. And on page 5, Gombe man climbs telecom's mast, threatens suicide. Gombe man climbs telecom's mast, threatens suicide. Get details of that on page 5. Now, at the foot of the page, you have 3 stories, one of which is on page 39. It says, Kaduna Plateau face similar security challenges, says El-Rufai. That was at his visit to Plateau State. And on page 5, gunmen invade palace, abduct Niger district head. And finally, on page 14, INEC redeploys Ogun, Oshun, Zamfara, Rex, and others. Kinsley?
Okay, we take a look at the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. Immediately below the name flag, then you have the regular reportage on school children in captivity. Federal Government College, Birini Yauri, they have been in captivity now 82 days. Bethel Baptist High School, Kujama in Kaduna, been in captivity 64 days. And below that, you have the following headlines, one coming with a kicker: insecurity. Northern elders oppose markets and schools closure, and others. Poor IGR may cripple 8 states if FG allocation stops. That's according to a report. And by the way, we should correct that. It is not federal government allocation, it is federation allocation. Conflicting judgments. CJN quizzes 7 chief judges today. Yeah, I think it's having a meeting with them. It's not so CJN meets 7 chief judges today. 1 month after, PDC, that's Bureau de Change operators, grown under CBN's forex policy. And there are a number of writers to that headline. We've lost 40,000 jobs. That's according to APCON. APCON stands for Association of Bureau de Change Operators of Nigeria. 200 billion naira capital goes toxic as trade plummets. That's according to the operators. CBN mom, experts divided over decision. The photograph there on the front page has the caption, deplorable condition of Abuja-Lagos Road in Ikoyi area of Iyara local government of Kogi State. And the second lead story, right at the foot of the front page, kidnappers on the prowl in Abuja, Katsina, and Niger. Lawmaker's wife, 2 kids, sister, SSG's brother abducted in Katsina. Pastor's wife and daughters kidnapped in Abuja. Monarch abducted in Niger. And then you have a drop panel on the right side. That's the first column from the right-hand side. Buhari orders creation of farm estates in all senatorial districts. Buhari orders creation of farm estates. Again, I think that should be Buhari approves. Creation of farm estates in all senatorial districts. Soldiers detained Guinea president as federal government condemns apparent coup. Team Nigeria finishes 4th in Africa at Tokyo Paralympics. Ayo.
Thank you, Kinsley. Let's start with the status on COVID-19. The total of number of persons infected for COVID-19 nationwide is now 195,511. This is because on Saturday, 964 new cases were reported. And the previous day, that is on Friday, the fresh cases were reported were 444. And yesterday, over 400 has been reported. Those with active COVID-19 cases are over 10,000. The recent surge in cases makes the Nigeria Center for Disease Control to stress the need for Nigerians to go for vaccination. Borno State government has opened 87 sites across the state for vaccination. The acting director Disease Control, Dr. Goni Alaji Abacha, says Moderna vaccines are available for persons 18 years and above, and those who got their first AstraZeneca vaccine in March are expected to come forward for second doses. In Ondo State, the public servants have been given 2 weeks to take COVID-19 vaccine. In a circular by the Permanent Secretary, Service Matters, it says public servants must show a vaccination card to access some facilities. Mr. O.J. Afolabi circular says, following outbreak of Delta variant and the subsequent third wave, all public servants in Ondo State are to take COVID-19 vaccination within 2 weeks. The date of the circular indicates that the state government is going to be very strict with it because they have a determination to reduce the impact of the COVID-19, especially Delta variant. And in the Federal Capital Territory, the Executive Secretary, Primary Healthcare Board, Dr. NTA Award, has called on residents to present themselves for vaccination. There are stories of abductions that have been reported in the 2 papers we reviewed. A lawmaker representing Bakori in Katsina State, who was abducted and ransomed last year, had his home invaded on Saturday. In fact, the bandits barricaded the Funtua Katsina highway, shot into the air, went into his home and took away his wife and 2 children. Also in Tafoki, which is in Faskari local government area of Katsina State, a bride-to-be waiting for the D-Day, who is also a sister of the Deputy Speaker, has been kidnapped on Sunday. And closer here in the Peggy community, which is in the Kurje Area Council, a 45-year-old mother and 2 daughters, that is the report about the pastor's wife, 2 daughters, one 17, the other 14, were abducted from their home at 1 a.m. on Sunday. And in Borgo, Niger State, Dodo of Wawa was adopted from his palace. In spite of all these challenges, clerics of the 4 Square Gospel Church rose from its 8th annual convocation, prophesying that in spite of this myriad of security and economic problems, Nigeria will be great again. The coordinator of Ogun State, Reverend Adedimeji Adegbeson, urged Nigerians to trust in God so that all lost things will be restored. He says there will be peace overnight the nation, and not only that, he added that God will restore our economy and things will be better. To that prayer, I think I will say amen. The National Agricultural Land Development Agency is to set up integrated farms in each of the 108 senatorial districts of Nigeria. The Executive Secretary of the agency, Paul Ikone, who revealed this after visiting Mr. President, says that the initiative is expected to provide jobs for the youths who will also engage in active food security in a very short period. The Executive Secretary called on state governments to key into the initiative. He gave instances. He says, for instance, Kogi State government has donated 700 hectares of land for the integrated estate. A 100-hectare land donated by Ogun State is already been cleared. He cited the example in Daura Integrated Farm Estate, which has capacity to engage 1,500 youths, farmers, as an eye-opener. Borno State also has estate which is 75% complete. There is also going to be a fish village in Abia. This is intended to engage women who will engage in what has been described as fish farming activities. So the Executive Secretary has called on state governments to key into this project because it's a positive remedy for youth unemployment and also will provide food security for our nation. Our ambassadors, the Paralympics, have returned. They were placed 33rd position on the global Paralympic table, but they were 4th in Africa. Team Nigeria won 10 gold medals, 4 gold, 1 silver, and 5 bronze medals. 22 athletes represented Nigeria. Nigeria's chief demission, Peter Nelson, described the athletes, the Paralympic athletes, as gladiators. He says they made it possible for Nigeria's anthem at least to be to be sung 4 times on the podium. And for 10 occasions, Nigeria's green, white, green flags flew on the podium.
It was a good tiding, Willie. And looking at this feat and, of course, comparing it to the men Olympics,
yes,
that can be really heartwarming indeed. Yes. Having sung the Nigeria's national anthem 4 times on the podium in Tokyo gives good tidings to Nigerians, and of course makes us feel at least we've not really lost completely from the Olympics, both, I would say, the real Olympics and the Paralympics. Although we are maybe 2 medals down from what we got the previous one. But all the same, I think it's a good one. Kingsley?
Well, yes, but I want to just draw attention to the story we read earlier about the president ordering creation of farm estates in our senatorial districts. As I said, of course, the report is quoting the executive secretary of the Agricultural Land Development Agency, and the statement is not coming directly from the presidency. It could very well be that, as I said earlier, the president has given approval, not that he's ordering farm estates in all 109 senatorial districts. If it's an order, how do you establish an integrated farm in a fully urbanized senatorial district, such as Lagos Central Senatorial District? Lagos Central Senatorial District. It's a fully urbanized area. So are you going to tear down structures and properties so as to have an integrated farm? So, and then of course there are also issues regarding ownership of land, where you have reference to Section 1 of the Land Use Act that vests land in the governor as a trustee. So you have to acquire land in the first instance. How long does it take to acquire land? You have to compensate people. And where is land more readily available? And then who then keys into the farm estate project? It's all well and good, but I think that these are some of the points that we needed to raise.
Well, yes. I think the point is taken, and it's obvious. The executive secretary briefed Mr. President about the successes, and since the successes are encouraging, the president directed that they should be replicated, at least one in every senatorial district. But the challenge you have pointed out in highly urbanized area, which is not only Lagos Central, there are several. If you go to Kano, Kano Central,
Kaduna,
yes,
even Jos here, Port Harcourt, these are areas where you find
the urban areas. But I think
fully urbanized senatorial districts.
Yes, but I think the idea behind is equity, so that at least one of all the 108 local government areas will have a place for such to be provided for. That will become their challenge.
The other story, just before you
the other story about Côte d'Ivoire.
No, not Côte d'Ivoire, it's Guinea.
Guinea, yes.
Guinea. I think that ECOWAS heads of state, and Nigeria has always provided leadership in this regard. Of course, Nigeria has already condemned what it describes as an apparent coup d'etat, with the coup makers saying that they have suspended the constitution, dissolved parliament, and seized Alpha Conde, the president. The critical worry for me should be what is happening to Francophone West African countries with regard to upholding the ECOWAS protocol on democracy. That's on democracy. That's to say that unlawful takeover of governments is abhorrent to the ECOWAS idea. You have challenges in Burkina Faso, challenges in Mali, challenge now in Guinea-Conakry. What is happening? Are there external forces that are fueling this? And how come these things often tend to take the rest of ECOWAS by surprise?
Ideally, it's not quite clear the status of the coup, because those who are behind it say we have decided after taking the president to dissolve the current constitution and also the government and close land and air borders. But other reports, particularly when the Daily Trust says that the Presidential Guard, supported by the defense and security forces loyal to the Republican, have contained the threat and pushed back the attackers. So the situation is not quite clear. But be that as it may, the Federal Republic of Nigeria has made pronouncements condemning the attempt to push out an elected president. and has insisted that the president should be restored to his position. Not only that, the Secretary General of the United Nations has also said, I am personally following the situation in Guinea. I strongly condemn any takeover of government by force of gun. I called for immediate release of President Conte. Guess what? Morocco and Guinea were supposed to have played their qualifying match for AFCON 2021 this morning. Now there is an aircraft at Morocco airport to go and evacuate the Atlas Lions from Guinea. And there are apprehensions in Morocco, but they are saying that there's no cause for alarm. They will go there and evacuate their players from Guinea this morning.
I think they said aircraft were being diverted from Conakry to other airports in the country. Well, this is the kind of situation you find. I mean, when Nigeria, of course, used to have a history of this in 1966, there was a visiting head of state in Nigeria, Macarius, Cyprus. Yes. He was visiting Nigeria in 1966.
Macarius.
Yes, when this happened. But of course, Nigeria has long since overcome all of this. And we must worry because it costs a great deal of time and effort and resources to try to restore the democratic order. And what should happen? Happily, the United Nations has also weighed in. No matter what the challenges are, let the constitutional order prevail.
Yes. Apart from ECOWAS, AU weighed in, and very soon, aside from the United Nations now, EU and all regional bodies across the world will certainly come in against it. But what I found intriguing is that there's not been any statement from France. Usually when there are some of these threats to democracies in the Francophone countries, there's usually an immediate statement from France, and sometimes they even send the French gendarmes down across to those countries.
The French are already giving indication that they want to withdraw their boots from the so-called terrorist triangle. That's to say Mali and parts of Burkina Faso and so on and so forth, because it's costing them quite. That's what I said. It's intriguing why you have this frequent toppling of governments in French-speaking West African countries.
Anyway, are we smelling some rat maybe somewhere, somehow? But whatever it is, anyway, whatever it is, anyway, there was a coup in Guinea-Conakry, and it was successful because the president has been arrested and the government has been sacked. Bayo, thank you so much for your contribution this morning.
Thank you, sir.
It's Good Morning Nigeria. We'll now take a break. Stay with us.
Nigerians. Against all odds, we shall and must remain united. We may have our challenges, our problems, and setbacks. However, together we shall overcome them all. What doesn't break us shall make us stronger. This is the mindset that shall bring peace, progress, and prosperity to our beloved country. Do not let tribal and religious sentiments govern how you think, act, or feel. Don't be influenced by those who want to destroy our precious national unity. Everybody who is a Nigerian is your brother and your sister. This is the mindset of the new Nigeria. It is also the mindset that we must all adopt. Let us support each other in creating the Nigeria of our dreams. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
Illnesses can happen at home too. That's why Dettol and me together will make my baby's home safe and to protect from up to 100 illness-causing germs. That's why moms want to be Dettol. Dettol Sure. We are Dettol, Dettol Sure.
We are StarTimes, the most affordable digital pay TV platform with the widest signal coverage in Nigeria, dedicated to bringing the best TV entertainment around the world to your screen. most affordable subscription. Enjoy over 75 channels for as low as 1,700 naira, like Nat Geo Wild, BBC, ESPN, and premium sports like Emirates FA Cup, La Liga, Bundesliga, wrestling. What's more exciting? We have the most flexible payment options in Nigeria. Don't dull. Join us now for an exciting journey. Star Times. Enjoy digital life.
Dear compatriots, our country can be as great as we want.
Let us all commit ourselves to its greatness.
We must be willing to set aside our differences, unite and stay as one.
In our expansive landmass, human and material resources, and plurality lies our strength.
Let our challenges lead us to rediscover our common ground, and together, let's find solutions.
This will take some time, so it requires patience, tolerance, and forgiveness from every one of us.
Let all hands come on deck to protect and transform our country.
Let us unite and see each other not as adversaries, but as brothers and sisters.
Together, we can build a better Nigeria for ourselves and for the next generations.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA, with support from Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
Well, as a prompter for our conversation segment, which is on the planned introduction of the e-NAIRA, let's listen to this background report by our correspondent, Abdulsalam Jibril.
While the world is truly going digital in recent times, financial experts say it is only proper that Nigeria follow suit and take such steps. The planned introduction of the Central Bank Digital Currency, CBDC, also known as e-NAIRA, by the Apex Bank, less than a month away, precisely on the 1st of October, is one of such steps. The Apex Bank made this known in February after it barred banks and financial institutions from dealing in or facilitating transactions in cryptocurrencies. The CBN maintains that the e-NAIRA would operate as a wallet against which customers can hold existing funds in their bank accounts, and has assured that the currency would accelerate financial inclusion and enable cheaper and faster remittance inflows. The e-NAIRA, which is the digital version of the Naira, its implementation process will be in 5 stages. While some Nigerians have applauded the federal government for taking this step, especially when other countries like India, China, South Africa, and Ghana, among others, have also decided on a homegrown digital currency, others have questioned the rationale for such introduction and the value to the economy. Some financial experts have also raised concerns about the swift timing, stressing that the 1-month timeline of operation as signified by the October launch date is faulty and undermines a lot of risk factors which could be detrimental to the financial system. Others insist that with the proposed digital currency, there is still a wide digital divide in technology adoption across the country. They argue that digital education and literacy among the Nigerian populace is lacking, and many businesses are still manually driven, and as such, the innovation may suffer low acceptance. As Nigeria counts down to the formal introduction and adoption of the e-NAIRA, what is the difference between digital currency and cryptocurrency? Is the country ready for the innovation? Guests on the program will speak to these and many more issues about e-NAIRA shortly.
And there are questions and so many questions there. Now, to begin our conversation, first I would like to welcome here in the studio Dr. Chijoike Ikechukwu, Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer, Dignity Finance and Investments Limited. You're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
All right, and joining us from our Kaduna Network Center is a regular guest on Good Morning Nigeria, Shuaibu Idris, a banker, a financial analyst, and currently Managing Director, Timeline Consult Limited. Shuaibu Idris, delight to have you on Good Morning Nigeria again. Limited. Shuaibu Idris, delight to have you on Good Morning Nigeria again.
Kinsley, and thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
Okay, and from our Lagos Network Center, we have Professor Segun Ajibola, as the former president of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria. Professor Ajibola, again, it's our pleasure to have you on Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning, Mr. Moderator, and thank you for inviting me to this very important discourse.
Okay, gentlemen, once again, we welcome all our guests. Earlier this year, we had a conversation around cryptocurrency and how cryptocurrency was gaining currency amongst a significant segment of the youth population and others here in Nigeria. And then, of course, the central bank subsequently issued its own directive saying that cryptocurrencies were not legal tender in the country, and that at the appropriate time it would come up with its own regulations and indeed what next to do. So it appears now that we're on the path of cryptocurrency, but we have all the experts in-house. Shuaibu Idris, you were part of that conversation we had earlier this year with regard to the ascendancy of cryptocurrency in the Nigerian financial transaction system. So the central bank is now saying on the 1st of October, that's less than a month away, it will launch the e-NAIRA, even though on a pilot basis. Tell us, what is e-NAIRA all about? Is it electronic money? Is it cryptocurrency? What is it?
Thank you once again, Kinsley. I think let's start with a bit of a trajectory of history. Mankind, from the beginning of our creation, have had series of developmental progress as regards transactions and what we could call financial intermediation. Initially, we used to do trading by barter. We exchanged goods and services. Then we had Manila money, then cowries, and then we developed into what we can call paper and coin money. And as we progress, the interplay of economics, market forces, as well as commodities gave rise to, means of transaction such as plastic cards. Mankind, in an effort to ensure that he has freedom, develop internet, and with the development of internet, transactions and indeed monies were held in not just vaults of banks, but in what you can call digital devices. If you take for want of a better example, say a Zenith Bank or GT Bank with a balance sheet of almost 1 trillion naira, will that 1 trillion naira be in cash in a vault in, say, Zenith or ZET or Unity Bank? The answer is no. So the monies is stored, in form of, devices. Now, this is the trajectory that gave rise to what we are now calling either cryptocurrency or digital money or e-NAIRA. The central bank, to my mind, as I did state when I appeared during the discourse that we had on cryptocurrency, I think took the right decision by making sure that the financial system in Nigeria is ring-fenced from the risk associated with trading in cryptocurrency. And we did state then that indeed the central bank had a committee, and the committee was looking into the possibilities of having a cryptocurrency that could be, managed by central bank. When the central bank in about 3-4 weeks ago came out with what it called Project Giant and the various roadmaps that it gave out as to the proposed e-NAIRA, it was quite gladdening because for me as a Nigerian, for me as a banker, I doff my hat to the central bank led by Emefiele for taking the bold step to come out with, that roadmap. However, let's also segregate the distinction between e-money and digital currencies. E-money is a subset of digital currency. Digital currencies can be encrypted currencies as well as e-money, which is backed by fiat. That is the currency, say the Naira. So what we are having as far as the central bank, policy position that is going to be launched by 1st of October is concerned, this is not cryptocurrency. It is e-money because it is backed by the monies that you have in your bank account. Technically, it is not more than the plastic card that we are holding. However, mankind is directly getting into the realm of paperless, society, whereas everywhere you go, you just hold a handheld device, be it a laptop or an iPad or an Android-based phone. With that, you can transact any business, you can buy, you can sell, you can transfer money from A to B, from B to C, and what have you. So in a nutshell, there has to be an understanding that the e-NAIRA is technically not a cryptocurrency. It is a digital currency, but it is not a cryptocurrency.
Oh, well, so much said about the history and, of course, what it may mean, the e-NAIRA here. Shaibu Idris, thank you so much. Let's hear from Professor Segun Ajibola, former President, Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria. What more would you add, Professor, to what Shaibu Idris said in relation to what the e-NAIRA is? The common man on the street, at least for those who have bank accounts, have this plastic called the ATM, the card. And then with that, you can transact businesses and do whatever you want to do with your money in the bank. But here comes the e-NAIRA to be launched maybe in some 3 weeks' time by the CBN. How different would that be with what we have in our hands as ATM, as we transact cashless economy? And then how different too is it going to be from the cryptocurrency, the Bitcoin, for instance, which we were talking about?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, once again. The beauty of any banking system is how robust, how effective is the payment system. Banking, to a very large extent, relies so heavily on the efficacy of the payment system in place. And if we look at the recent history of the efforts of the regulators, the Central Bank of Nigeria in particular, in deepening the payment system, we will definitely give kudos to the Central Bank of Nigeria. A lot has changed in terms of the payment system in Nigeria. We have moved from where we used to be to where we are today. And we do know that if there is anything that is so germane, that is so important to the banking system, it is the efficacy of the payment system. Banks receive, banks pay. So either as a paying bank or as a receiving bank, what you are looking out for is the convenience, is the effectiveness of that payment system. And that is what is now driving the digitalized payment system that we are talking about. If that payment system becomes so robust, It gives a lot of comfort, convenience, and even security to all parties involved in the payment system. It helps to promote the efficiency of the transaction system that we have. Commercial activities generally are improved upon when we have a payment system that is so robust, that is so convenient. And that is where the Nigerian payment system is driving towards. As of today, we have various devices that ensure that with the payment system that we have in Nigeria is sufficiently germane compared with what we used to have. Secondly, Mr. Moderator, when you have a payment system where the authorities, and by authorities I mean the regulatory authorities, where they have control over a substantial portion of the money stock in that environment, then the efficacy of the monetary system itself is enhanced. With the digitalized environment that we have, and with the digitalized payment system, one implication of that is the authorities will have control over a substantial portion of the money stock in the environment, and that improves the effectiveness of the monetary policy. Compared with a situation where a very large proportion of the money stock is in the hands of the people in terms of currency in circulation. So in economic balance, policy aimed at bringing the money stock closer to the authorities is always a policy that is advocated for, because the monetary authorities will be able to devise policies that will enhance the efficacy of those policies in the system. Thirdly, we do know that the global environment is driving towards digitalization. If there is anything that COVID-19 has brought to bear on the payment system, is bringing the people, bringing the banking system closer to a digitalized payment system. In fact, we do know that the analog family lost so many members during the COVID-19 because so many had to leave that analog family to join the digitalized family. So with that, we discovered that we are also working closer to the rest of the world, where payment system across the globe is being gradually digitalized. So if we bring all this together, then we do know that we are on the right course. And like the previous speaker said, when we talk of the digitalized system, the kind of currency that we are now talking about is far, far different from a cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency, as we know, is unregulated. Cryptocurrency, as we know, is difficult to monitor. Even the parties to cryptocurrency, they are difficult to pin down. But we are now talking about a payment system where you can identify the parties, where you can even devise means of improving that payment system, and also a situation where we have the digitalized system that enables every party to it to account for its own aspect, its own portion of that payment system. So bringing all this together, Mr. Moderator, I believe that the introduction of this currency into our system will enable the environment to have a more convenient means of payment, will also help to deepen even the banking system, will reduce the kind of security risks that we've had over the years in terms of the kind of payment system that we have implemented in this environment. So overall, Mr. Moderator, I think we are on the right course. We are also pairing with the rest of the world in terms of deepening and making more robust the payment system that we have in Nigeria. And at the end of the day, I do believe that this will help not just the banking system, even the economy as a whole.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Ajibola, there for your comments. Let's come back to our studios here where Dr. Chijoke Ekechukwu is. Dr. Ekechukwu, let's have your opening salvo, as it were, on the whole idea of e-NAIRA. And perhaps, we can get into a distinction between e-NAIRA and other payment system or systems.
When CBN brought their ban on the involvement of Nigerian banks in cryptocurrency transactions, I had a relief, because before then, I used to ask a lot of questions. Which people are hosting cryptocurrency? Where are they? Which country? Which server? Which cloud? And so, in other words, if these things had to do with human beings or some people somewhere that we do not know, they could one day wake up and shut down everything, and all the monies that were in circulation would just cease. And so that was my worry. Nigerians have gone through a lot of losses through Ponzi schemes, and we know many of them. And so when this particular one happened, I said this is just a relief to Nigerians. But of course, at that time, a lot of Nigerians said it's just because CBN didn't understand how cryptocurrency was working. That was why they banned their existence in Nigeria. But with the e-money, e-NAIRA coming out right now, it only says that yes, we can actually eliminate the existence of cryptocurrency in Nigerian financial systems. We can replace it. But how well the e-NAIRA can replace the cryptocurrency in terms of efficiency of servicing the customers or the users of cryptocurrency is still not very, very known up to today. I know that CBN is still on its pilot stage, and we expect that when the e-NAIRA comes operational, we're going to be seeing a lot of improvement. Of course, until you start testing a thing, you will not see the lapses of such a system to start improving on them. But so far, the intervention is very timely, because just within a very short period after after stopping cryptocurrency from the Nigerian banks, that they introduced e-NAIRA. Now, having said this, the good thing about the e-NAIRA is the fact that it is a fiat currency. Fiat because it's not backed by, say, any commodity. It is that which is backed by government. So, in other words, if anything happens, if anything goes wrong, you know where to run to complain, unlike cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency, there could be shortages here and there, and you will just not know where to even make your complaints over to. So, we are certain that with this, Nigerians can at least be sure that if they put all their monies in there, and of course, being controlled by e-NAIRA, you can actually be sure that you can sleep, you can travel, you can come back and be sure that your money is still within your wallet. Of course, just like a previous speaker said, it's going to be used using the wallet. Of course, just like cryptocurrency also, there are wallets to be used. And the good thing is that a good number of financial institutions are going to be springing up to back up this e-currency. They're going to spring up because CBN may decide on their own to have different companies to host the wallets. They may not be hosted by the regular banks, and so there are other going to be, they will have other services to be rendered by various people. You can also be sure that it's going to create more employment. It's going to create more employment in this country, because a lot of services are going to be rendered by fintech companies, and in fact, a lot of jobs are going to be created by other people fintech companies are going to employ. So, having introduced this, or bringing it into play somewhere in October, according to CBN, we're expecting that as it's been tested, we're going to be seeing whether they are going to be competing completely with what services cryptocurrencies render. Of course, you know, in the cryptocurrency parlance, people are able to trade and make income within a day. I do not see the possibility. I'm not seeing that is what the e-NAIRA is going to be creating right now. We expect that foreign payments are going to be made unhindered, you know, like how cryptocurrency provided for its users. But of course, CBN is saying that there are going to be limits. We expect that whenever CBN is involved in anything, there will be limits, there will be regulations, and there will be checks to ensure that people don't go astray and people are not duped using that same system. But the good thing is that as CBN is regulating it, CBN can track the amount of money in circulation. Before now, CBN did not have any record of the amount of money in circulation. And as a monetary policy institution, if you don't have an idea of the amount of money in circulation, it is difficult for you to make monetary policy statements, monetary policy decisions. And so this will enable them take proper decisions on the size of money in circulation. So I think it's an important thing. And on the issue of what the major difference between this e-NAIRA and other systems we're already having, I can only say this is only an additional to the system we have. It's not replacing any of them. It may not even be most efficient out of others. I can only say this is an additional system of payment that is being introduced by CBN. But I can tell you, it may be effective and more efficient in some areas, and maybe other systems may be. For example, you know that sometimes you make online payments, and you finish making it, the beneficiary of that payment may not receive, your account is debited. Right. And they will tell you to go back to your bank and make complaints. You go to, in fact, there is one I have right now, personal payment to a school, which is still hanging for more than 3 weeks now. You know, of course, if you imagine if school fees for children and a private university is going to be huge, and that is being hanging between Paystack, the bank, and the beneficiary, the institution. You know, so we've been going back and forth on this. These are kind of some of the things that e-money, e-NAIRA is going to eliminate. And we expect that once there is a debit, there has to be a credit instantly, and it's going to be real-time and online. So those are some of the differences we're going to be expecting when this one is out. Otherwise, I think it's only an additional payment system that is coming into play by the CBN.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Chijoke. The bottom line here is talking about, you know, regulation and, of course, getting something so structured instead of making it very informal like the cryptocurrency. Yeah. Shaibu Idris, let's get more insight into this aspect of e-NAIRA that says it is going to rather encourage or lead to greater financial inclusion, given the fact that Nigerians, you know, yearn for, or rather are more attracted to things that are not so much regulated per se and very informal, and that is why the cryptocurrency had a lot of you know, patronizers and people that went for that. But if the e-NAIRA will lead to greater financial inclusion, how would that be, and how would it be very much attractive to Nigerians, so much so that they could just drop the cryptocurrency issue and come over to the e-NAIRA?
Thank you very much. Let's be clear, Nadabo, that once again, the e-NAIRA is not going to be launched to replace the cryptocurrency. It is not going to be in competition with the cryptocurrency, and the intention of the central bank is not necessarily, you know, trying to woo Nigeria away or Nigerians away from cryptocurrency. E-money, e-wallet has been in existence in quite a number of climates. In Kenya, the most successful one is in Africa is in Kenya, the M-Pesa, where some 11-15 million Kenyans are using M-Pesa to make payment. Digital currencies, as they are, in particular the cryptocurrency, they appreciate in value. Some people that were lucky bought Bitcoins some 10 years ago, 15 years ago at less than $100 per unit. Today, 1 unit of Bitcoin is 32,000 US dollars. In fact, somewhere around 39,000 US dollars. So if you had bought and held a Bitcoin at $100, you would have made this much of fortune. If you get an e-wallet, and the one we are talking about now, the e-NAIRA, if you have a 100 Naira e-NAIRA in your wallet, that value will only appreciate to the extent that the Naira's value, the original currency or the currency behind, the e-money appreciate. So they are not the same. They are only similar in as much as because they are all going to be on a platform called internet, virtual money. What the central bank is planning to launch on 1st of October is basically two variants of the e-NAIRA. One is if you have a bank account, let's say I have 200,000 Naira in my bank account, call it Jaiz Bank. I can't take out 50,000 Naira or 100,000 Naira as part of my e-NAIRA, which the balance of the money will remain in the bank, and then this money will be in an e-wallet, in a wallet that I can hold on in my system, either computer system or iPad or a handheld device called telephone, for example. There will be encryption in a barcode, the usual barcode that technology has provided, that you just place your phone and the money can be zapped or removed from your wallet, and the account is adjusted both in the wallet and in the bank account if need be. The other variant is you can have an e-wallet that does not necessarily be linked to a bank account. This is where what Dr. Chijoke has said comes to bear. That is, there could be a bit of a relative ease for financial inclusion. To get a bank account today, you need utility bill. You need to go to a bank to probably upload your picture and do this and that and that and that. With e-NAIRA, you just need a handheld device, call it a telephone, and you go to either a bank or a merchant and you said, I want to load 10,000 Naira into my e-wallet. And there and then 10,000 Naira will be loaded into your e-wallet and you carry it about. There are multiple advantages. Relative ease with which you carry your money, the risk associated with either pickpockets or armed robbers or even loss of the money arising from maybe your pocket is porous and it draws. And of course, overall advantage is to the nation. What do I mean? Today, this country spends close to about 250 billion Naira just to print the Naira and to put them in circulation. Now, most of us are so, excuse my choice of words, irresponsible when we are holding the Naira. Some of us write on the Naira. Some women use them and put them in areas where they shouldn't be put, and you get dirty Naira in circulation. With the e-money, those issues will be relatively, addressed. So it is going to be a win-win situation for the citizens, for the government, for the banks, and everybody will be happy. The caveat is there are enormous amount of risks. With the touch of a button, someone can wipe you up. Remember, mankind and humanity, our ingenuity to, be fraudulent, particularly in this part of the divide, in this part of the world, is enormous. I mean, the Yahoo boys, what they are doing, what they are scamming people is enormous. So there are risks, and we need to tread on the path of caution. I still believe It is a policy in the right direction. It is timely, and we are all happy. And in this, giving kudos to Central Bank for putting Nigeria on the world map, on the global scene of one of the countries that is early enough to launch, a mobile wallet or an e-money.
Okay. Thank you very much, Shuaibu Idris, there for your further explanation of what the e-NAIRA is about. And just to say that, yes, mankind's propensity or humankind's propensity for fraud is very well known in all parts of the world. Earlier, Chijoke was talking about the Ponzi schemes. Charles Ponzi, of course, wasn't from this part of the world. MMM, it had wrecked a number of unwary investors. Wasn't from this part of the world, by the way. I mean, it came from Russia. But regardless, we appreciate your explanation. But I still would like for us to make further distinctions, if any, between this e-NAIRA and other forms of payment. And that's why I'm going back to Professor Segun Ajibola. Professor Segun Ajibola, e-wallet is not something that is sounding new to us in this part of the world. When Dr. Akinwumi Adesina was Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, one of the measures that the administration introduced then to bust the fertilizer mafia was the e-wallet. I'm not quite sure how that operated and how it is relevant or related to e-NAIRA that is being introduced now. But I know that Additional, with his usual flourish, was explaining that with e-wallet, you didn't need to go through a middleman to get your fertilizer and so on and so forth. So if you're familiar with how that operated then, how is it related to the e-NAIRA that the central bank is proposing to launch? That's one. Then two, yes, I've had a lot of explanations from you guests this morning to say that, well, yeah, this is another form of payment. But we're already having e-transactions. We're already having e-transactions. So what is new about e-NAIRA? I mean, I can use my phone to make a transaction, depending on which banks and depending on the limits that I have. So we make transactions, and between myself and the customer at the other end, we don't have to exchange, bank notes. And this is around the world. If I have a DOM account, I can also make transactions, across borders. So what is the difference? I mean, is e-NAIRA a variant or a subset of e-transactions? And what makes it unique? And as I also asked earlier, how is it any different from what Dr. Adesina was talking about e-wallet in seeking to bust the fertilizer mafia?
Yes, thank you once again. Let me first of all reinforce the position of education in some of these things. E-wallet came, but the question is this: what was the depth of education, counseling, and the quality of what was given out in terms of the modalities and guidelines on how e-wallet will operate? We must always emphasize the need to educate stakeholders and relevant parties whenever such an innovation, such a novel device is coming on board. I am not sure much of that was done during the time the e-wallet was introduced to the farmers. Therefore, it was as is often said, that the odds favor the status quo. What people know as having been working for them, they rather stick to that than go into something that is novel, that we may see as better, but it's not clear to them. They really don't understand the logistics of such an innovation. If there's anything that the e-wallet suffered, it suffered from that. Now we are going into e-money, e-NAIRA. Then the question arises. We need to educate the parties involved. And permit me, Mr. Moderator, that my institute, the Chartered of Bankers of Nigeria, is already taking that as an assignment, as a task, to educate the stakeholders and bring them to bear on what are the issues, what are the important features, and what are the responsibilities of the parties to this innovative idea coming on board. So we need that education. Educate all the parties. That is number one. The other point I want to make, Mr. Moderator, is we should not sacrifice KYC, know your customer, in introducing e-money, which is an added payment system to what we already have, but it's making the payment system more robust. But we should not sacrifice know your customer. Otherwise, we run into other problems of money laundering. So it's not a question of me ignoring the rules and regulations already on ground for a bank to certify me as somebody who is into genuine legal business and bringing money to them. So what I cannot do, maybe through currency in circulation, I should not be able to do so easily with e-wallet in terms of side tracking, in terms of bypassing rules and regulations that enable banks to certify me as being into legal business before bringing money to them. Now, let's go into the issue. What are the differences? What are the differences? As already said, the e-money is another outlet, is another platform to pay, to make payment system more robust. But now, rather than having my money in a currency form that I can access, I can draw out, I'm putting the money in an e-wallet under a new dispensation called Central Bank Digital Currency. There will be rules and regulations that will distinguish my money in such a wallet from my money in all the other forms of payment devices that are already in existence. We've already talked about limits. We are already looking at the rules and regulations that we monitor. How my money in the form of e-money can be utilized. There will be rules and regulations on the kind of payment systems that I can make. The central bank is saying that I can make payments across the globe using the e-money under what rules and regulations? How do I access foreign exchange with my balance in the e-money? These are some of the regulations that we are looking for, and I believe these are some of the areas the consultants being engaged by central bank will help educate all the parties to this. We already have it, as previous speakers have said. We already have it in China, in Sweden, even in some African countries, especially Kenya. Now, the question then arises. As somebody who will now be patronizing the e-money, what will be the attraction to me compared with what we already have on ground? There are issues, Mr. Moderator. For example, when I leave my money as e-money, I run the risk of loss of value if Naira continues to depreciate against other key currencies in circulation. This is another issue that is so important that will determine to what extent do I want to patronize e-money. If the rules and regulations are such that I may not be able to access it the way I can access my money using other devices. If I have my checking account in a bank, in a current account, if I have savings account, I can walk into the bank today and take away my money and even convert my money. If I have if I have legitimate reasons to do that, I can convert. I can say I want to make payments. But with e-money, like I said, we are still awaiting the details. How easily accessible can I move from e-money, if I so desire, to other payment platforms? Can I move from my e-money to other accounts in the bank? Can I say, okay, if I have 10 million and I have 7 million out of that in e-money, can I wake up today and say, please move 3 million, 2 million out of this into other platforms for whatever purpose? So these are some of the issues that will essentially determine the key distinctions between e-money that is being introduced and other devices that we already have on ground. But it is so critical for us to recognize the fact, like the previous speaker said, that the moment we have a new payment system on ground, the moment we introduce a new device, those who are on the other side of the divide, unfortunately, across the globe, fraud, cyber crimes, and co, they've turned to a business. And I am sure they are already outside there at work, looking at how to sidetrack, how to hit this new system. So for this e-money to bet successfully and to give some comfort to those who will be patronizing, there is need for the Central Bank of Nigeria and even the banking system as a whole to revisit the risk management architecture. What are the how do we re-engineer, reenact the firewalls to protect all the parties to the e-money? Finally, Mr. Moderator, I have said, number one, we need education. When education is either not sufficient or is completely absent, there will be mutual suspicion. And I am sure that was one of the setbacks with the e-wallet introduced for farmers by our very erudite and cerebral former Minister of Agriculture, Dr. Adesina. We need not repeat that mistake. Let there be time, even if it's coming on board on 1st of October, education can still continue. We can engage with those that have introduced this successfully across the globe. Let them take us through the trajectory. Let our institutions that are involved, like my institute, also be involved in the education of the parties. That is number one. Number two, we need to give comfort to those that will patronize the e-money. Let's allay the fears. Fear of loss of value because Naira may depreciate. Like the example that was given, $100 became $32,000. Will Naira appreciate? Will Naira depreciate? This is a major concern that anybody that is patronizing e-money will also want to be addressed. Thirdly, is the question of risk. How will the risk architecture change to confront those who are on the other side, the bad side of the divide, and will be ready with their own architecture to undermine the regulations, to undermine the authorities, and hit parties to e-money, especially those who have their money in that central bank digital currency. How will they be protected from those outside there that are ready to hit at the slightest opportunity? And we know, Mr. Moderator, that in this part of the world, in fact, generally speaking, fraudsters are always a step ahead of operators. Operators themselves are always a step ahead of the regulators. So that is why what we have in this part of the world are reactive policies rather than proactive policies. With e-money coming, what will be the difference between this e-money that is coming and other payment devices that we have? In which case, we now have proactive management of the issues that may be arising, not reactive. These are things that can give all the parties cause for joy that a new policy and innovative payment system has come on board, if we are able to manage all these issues, I believe the benefits that we'll get, which I summarized earlier on, in terms of ease of payment, in terms of improved efficacy of monetary policies, in terms of, like the previous speaker said, reduction in this humongous cost of printing currencies, thereby reducing the currency in circulation portion of the money stock in our environment, and eventually our ability to curtail the security issues that usually arise from carrying cash from all over. But we have a lot of work to do if we are going to bring, because as of today, it's 80-20 rule, Mr. Moderator. 20% of the population doing 80% of all these digital transactions. How do we deepen that? If we have to deepen using this e-money to attract the 30% of our population that are still outside the banking system, then we need to carry the message to the grassroots. We need to carry that education to every nook and corner of the country. If we are able to do all these four things, Mr. Moderator, I believe we will see some major differences in terms of contribution to national progress, in terms of deepening the financial system, in terms of helping to improve the overall performance of our economy, because banking is the commanding height.
So much, Professor Jibola. Oh, thank you so much for the insights you've given us, and of course, so many questions that you've raised, which really need some more interrogation. And I believe Dr. Chijoke and our guest in Kaduna will be delighted to really talk more about that and talk more to that. We'll now take a break. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria, and of course, you're discussing the economics of e-NAIRA. We'll be back in a moment.
The Buhari administration has recorded unprecedented achievements in all sectors, especially in the provision of infrastructure, which is the key to economic growth. Never in the history of this country has any administration done so much with so little. I recall that when this administration came into office, the price of crude oil, which provides for 80% of Nigeria's budgetary revenues and 95% of foreign exchange earning, dropped drastically, thus reducing the amount of resources available to the federal government. In spite of this, the administration has continued apace with massive infrastructure developments.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Mommy is ready to receive me a bundle of joy. Mommy is making my home cleaner and safer. We are Dettol, Dettol Sure.
Illnesses can happen at home too. That's why Dettol and me together will make my baby's home safe and to protect from up to 100 illness-causing germs. That's why moms want to be Dettol, Dettol Sure.
We are Dettol, Dettol Sure.
TV Guide is out exclusively with Governor Simon Lalong of Plateau State.
Since assuming office, Our rescue administration has pursued the path of peace and reconciliation and restored confidence among people of different ethnic, religious, and political persuasions. Peace is back on the plateau. We are building world-class infrastructure in roads and opening up opportunities for innovation.
The edition is a compendium of mind-blowing stories for your reading pleasure, ranging from entertainment, economy, sports, media, politics, family, and lots more. Pick up a copy and keep abreast with issues and trending features within our space. TV Guide, very incisive, very educative and compelling. Grab a copy at the vendor near you or any NTA station nationwide. TV Guide, your indispensable companion.
All right, welcome back, and you're still watching Good Morning Nigeria, and we're live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. All our three guests are still with us here in Kaduna, our Lagos Network Center, as well as our Abuja studios. Now, back to Abuja here, Dr. Chijoke Ikechukwu. Dr. Chijoke Ikechukwu, well, of course, we're still trying to explore the full amplitude of e-NAIRA that is soon to take off in our economy. I just, in addition to whatever reactions you have to what Professor Ajibola and Shuaibu Idris earlier said, I just get this let us have this clarification. Is it that at the initial stage that the e-NAIRA will be a settlement system amongst financial institutions, or will it be open to all users in the first instance? That's to say, if it's a settlement system, like in those days they used to go for bank, is it clearing or something? Clearing and all that. So that, at that higher level, we're not, those of us who are getting into microtransactions then get bothered about that. That's one. And then the question of cyber security challenges has also been raised. And when you were making your earlier comment, you did talk about the potential involvement of fintech companies in all of this. How can we fortify our firewalls against the intrusion by, potential scammers or other persons? They don't necessarily have to reside here. I mean, they're all over. I'm sure you get all these bogus phone calls from +36 something, and so on and so forth. So, cyber security challenge with regard to the management of e-money, and secondly, should the ordinary user now with a NAIRA in his pocket begin to have any ideas about e-NAIRA, or he should just leave that to his financial bankers?
Thank you very much. E-money has actually come to add a few more features to existing payment systems. And it's not just a payment system. e-NAIRA is a platform. Is a fiat platform that is backed by CBN. The difference is that the other payment systems we've had to do with deposit money banks and international payment platforms like Visa, like MasterCard, as the case may be. But here we have this one that has the backing of government through CBN to the extent that when you have your funds, either in your account or in the wallet that's going to be created, you cannot actually be afraid that your money may be lost in your bank. For example, there is a bank failure. If your money is in your wallet, it's like in the custody of CBN. That's what that wallet looks like, in the custody of CBN. So you have more security having your money in that space. I also say that sometimes it's expected that when you make certain payments with the other cards that we have, you may not be successful in your payment. There are restrictions, like once you have made international payment, currently that's what actually is going on right now. Once you have made international payment more than $100, more than 1,000 in a month, you are not expected to make more. But I expect that when you're spending from your wallet, you can spend as much as you have in your wallet, maybe with certain restrictions, depending on what the CBN wants to do. Those are some of the differences that we're going to be seeing. And CBN said, of course, this is actually going to, apart from the inclusion that is going to create for everybody everywhere, We also know that the issue of inclusion is also limited to people who have the kind of funds that can operate this system. And so if we talk about the cybersecurity situation, you know, there is no situation that is foolproof, from any of these things. But it depends on how fortified the firewalls are. And we also expect that if they have left all the fintech companies in Nigeria and gone outside, probably get the best from all over the world and to get people who could be trusted more than the ones that we have. Otherwise, I'm sure we have a very good number of fintech companies that could actually partner CBN in this exercise. So we expect, because nobody can say right now until it becomes tested, we expect that we're going to be having a tight encrypted situation where it will be difficult to hack into, and but whether there will be attempts, there will always be attempts. Just like previous speaker said, there are people who are already even studying what's going to happen, anticipating what's going to happen to see how they are going to hack into such systems. Of course, I also expect that CBN should have enough expertise or enough consultants to be able to forestall such possibilities. Otherwise, the project will be a failure if people start losing money in such a situation. So we expect that features that are not there existing in the existing systems, e-money, e-NAIRA may provide, and vice versa. Some of the systems, again, that e-NAIRA may have, the other ones may be providing. But one thing that is very important that e-NAIRA should provide is the fact that payments should be made to be seamless for people, payment within and payment outside the country. People should be able to have the convenience of making payments outside the country. The advantage of this is the fact that even when you're making payments outside the country, it is within the view of CBN, and they can track such movements. They can track it in such a way that it will be difficult for people to have illicit monies transferred from one account to another without CBN citing them. Those things can still happen right now, and that is just one major advantage that e-NAIRA will have. So all this put together, like I said before, is only an additional method of holding money first of all, and making payments.
Is it that e-NAIRA will be backed by our Naira? And if so, what is likely to be the exchange rate factor?
Yeah, it's a good question. In e-NAIRA, you cannot store what you don't have. You have to take some money from somewhere to put in your wallet. It may not come from your account. It may come directly from another account into that particular wallet. You can actually transfer from anywhere else into that wallet. And so if transfers are to be made outside the shores of this country, those rates are going to be determined by probably prevailing rates, exchange rates in Nigeria. And probably, of course, if we're talking about prevailing rates, there will be prevailing official rates, not prevailing prior market rates. You know, so since we have those rates known to us, we expect that at the point you want to make international payments, that's the rate that's going to be prevailing for you. And we expect that it's going to be seamless, more seamless than we can have today. None of us can sit here at the convenience of our rooms, our phones, and make any international payment right now as we speak, except to use the various cards that we have, the Visa card or the MasterCard, as the case may be. But the e-NAIRA is going to make all those things possible for both local and foreign payments. And again, there is no fear that you're going to lose your money because this one is fiat currency.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Chijoke. Let's hear from Shuaib in Kaduna. We've been talking about this very policy and its launch in the next 3 weeks by the CBN. the Professor Ajibola emphasized really on the need for education. And I think people should know exactly what this whole policy is all about so that they could really appreciate what the CBN wants to do and what the federal government really wants to do invariably. When I was just trying to find out the e-NAIRA field, I come to conclusion that it is more or less like another financial way of trying to make people have access to their money, which may not be in their banks, but in certain financial institutions. Now, Shoaib, can you take us through and explain further for us and for Nigerians what exactly is going to be there in the process? Because I learned that it's not going to be in the banks as such, it's going to be manned by financial institutions, and of course some identification number are going to be given. Now, tell Nigerians about this and how different that would be from what my colleague earlier said, that we have the, MasterCard, we have the ATMs and the rest of them. How different would that be?
Thank you, Dadabo. Before I answer that, let me just give an additional pieces of information to the questions Kingsley asked and the responses from my senior professional colleagues, Professor Ajibola and Dr. Chijoki. Number one, Dr. Adeshino did introduce wallet, electronic wallet, for which fertilizer, pesticide, and other chemicals were, directly sent to farmers. Farmers that had or that have Android phones were given, electronic money, e-money, and they were supposed to use those monies in the wallet to go to a distributor that is selling fertilizer or pesticide to buy. This is, if you like, the rudimentary, the basic, the foundation of e-NAIRA, kind of, because it's a one-way traffic from the Federal Ministry of Agriculture directly to farmers, which cuts the middlemen and cuts, red tapes and bureaucracy. It was well executed, and I believe, the juries are out, but the little I know about it, 75–80% success was recorded, and kudos to Dr. Adeshino. On the issue of payment mechanism, as of today, we have like 3, 4, or 5 payment mechanisms. One is you have a checking account, you write a check to Mr. A, or you write a check to yourself and you go to the bank to cash. If you have a savings account, you need to go to a bank to get money. Second kind of payment mechanism is the electronic cards. You have Visa card, MasterCard, Diners, whatever card you have, and the monies are loaded and you can go to a point of sales, POS, or an ATM to get your cash and put in your pocket. Thirdly, like you said, Kingsley, one can make payment from his or her account using the internet. So if you have the application of your bank and you download the application and they give you all the passwords, the codes, you go in there and you can buy item and make payment there and then through the internet using, the bank's platform. The fourth is the USSD code, where you dial some codes, you dial the account number, you want to make payment and the amount, and then you send into the system, and the system recognizes that, and the payments are made. All these, like I did say when I first, introduced the subject matter, is mankind has been able to upgrade, upstage himself to relative ease of making payment. Now, we are talking of e-NAIRA. E-NAIRA, or e-money, is an advanced form of all these payment mechanisms. Why is it advanced? With e-NAIRA, like I did say, you can have an e-wallet that is backed by your bank account. You can have another e-wallet that is not backed by any bank account. So it makes it relatively easy for people to transact business and to hold money electronically without necessarily having, a bank account. Indeed, it is important, like I did say, to realize that this will help the economy, this will help us manage the country's economy even better. Regarding the question you asked, the exposure draft, the document that has come out from the central bank, is quite detailed. The central bank came out with the possibility of limits that will be implemented during the pilot run. First limit is certain categories of e-wallet holders will not be allowed to transact businesses more than 200,000 naira per day, payment and receiving. So these technically, reduce the risk of fraud. The next category is certain account holders or e-wallet holders will be allowed to transact business of 1 million naira and below, receiving or payment. So I can receive 1 million naira today, but not above 1 million naira in a particular day. I can also make payments out of my wallet, 1 million naira, but not more. If I fall into the third category where you have the limit of 5 million naira, you are allowed to transact, businesses receiving or giving money up to 5 million naira. So there are three categories: 200, 1 million, 500, 5 million. Then this transaction can be person to person, me to Kingsley, me to Chijoke, me to Ajibola, and it can be vice versa, another person to me, or this person to that person. Second category is person to business. I can make payment to the Nigerian Television Authority if I want to place adverts from my wallet. And organization to person. NTA can decide to make payment to me from its own wallet to me. So person to business, business to person. And then wallet can also be created and are going to be created between each organization, which means, for example, a government organization like say, Nigerian Broadcasting Commission wants to make payment to, say, Nigerian Communication Commission, NCC. So from this wallet to that wallet, the two wallets can interface and still make payment. So,
okay, Shwaibu Idris, sorry, we're having to interject, but it looks like this is a subject matter that we will dwell on subsequently. The whole point about public enlightenment has been emphasized by all three guests, more particularly Professor Segun Ajibola. Now, if that is the case, and I do agree with you, gentlemen, that the question must arise as to why the central bank is seeking to proceed with the launch, even on the pilot phase, from the 1st of October this year, which is just 3 weeks away. And I know that a number of our viewers, are probably just grappling with the whole ideas that you gentlemen have churned out in the course of this conversation. On the 1st of January 1973, the Nigerian government introduced Naira and Kobo. Now, all through 1972, because I remember that very clearly, the amount of enlightenment that went on, saying that we're going to change from pounds, shillings, and pence, that it will no longer be 12 pennies, make 1 shilling, 20 shillings, make 1 pence, but 100 kobo, make 1 naira. All through 1972, you had that campaign. And now only in a matter of a few weeks, you are saying e-NAIRA. And then the next thing, probably you have more challenges and confusion in the payments arena. Gentlemen, on that note, we'd like to appreciate you for being part of our conversation this morning. Here in the Abuja studios, Dr. Chijoke Ikechukwu, Managing Director, CEO, Dignity Finance and Investment Limited. A delight having you this morning.
Thank you very much.
From Kaduna, a regular, Shwaibu Idris, banker, financial analyst, and MD Timeline Consult Limited. We appreciate your being around. From our Lagos studios, Professor Segun Ajibola, former President, Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria. Thanks a lot for your insights. So, gentlemen, that's it for our conversation segment. We're now taking sports.